Hey guys, Mike Sako coming to you with Mike O'Neill, Andy Bittner with Palm Harbor Fire Rescue. We just recently went to a training down at the Pinellas County Hazmat team, and we actually did some hands-on foam training. And we used a really unique type of tools and an apparatus that allows us to make this engine, every discharge, foam capable. It's called the foam midget. Okay, what we're going to do is try to explain how this thing works. Andy, come on over here. You and Mike actually pumped this thing down at training. Tell them what we have here when it comes to the midget itself and how this works. Each step.
Basically, first thing you gotta do, you're gonna get your foam midget. You're gonna hook up to your intake. Next thing is, we got a short section of 1.75 inches, always with the foam midget. You just connect it to your discharge. So basically, you're just gonna pump your discharge, and then it goes from the foam midget, from your foam tank, and then it goes right into your truck tank, creating the whole truck capable of flowing foam at every discharge.
Okay, so on the bottom right there, that's a pickup tube. What that's going to do, that tube is screwed into the bottom of the midget. Once this is pumped out, this is actually going to be charged. It goes back in, and then what this tube will do is going to allow you to put it into your foam bucket. And by the way, this is a training bucket. This thing is not even capable of handling just one small incident because of the fact that when this thing is flowed, it flows an immense amount of foam in a quick time period to a point where you're going to need 55-gallon drums. So what we're going to recommend is, we talked about it at training down at Hazmat, we're going to bring Water 5.8. They have 500 gallons of foam on that truck. We need to be aware, if we are going to set up the foam midget for any type of big incident, we have a tanker on fire out here on 19. Alderman and 19, for example. It would be a heavy, big disaster, quite honestly, to handle. But the fact is, we have to be prepared for it. So this is a pre-plan also. Just think about those things. We need to special them up. If you're a company officer, get Water 5.8 coming right now. If you hear there's something going on, upgrade to a second alarm for fire units, and then call for a full hazmat response, county hazmat response. Okay, those are the things that we need to address immediately as the company officer. So once we have our foam set up, our company starts setting up. What we're going to do after the fact here is we're going to show you how this thing does work, but I want to explain the difference when it comes to the different nozzles and how we deploy our foam and what it actually does. This nozzle is our regular fog nozzle. If you hook this up to an inductor, you're going to get yourself about a 4-to-1 finished foam. So basically, you're going to get a little bit of foam out of it. It's not going to give you a huge blanket, but it's going to give you the ability to start putting something on that fire and to cool it down and to keep it suppressed with the vapors. That's what we're trying to do. This our second one, and thank you Firefighter Parks for engine 99. But no, actually, we have engine 66. This is going to give you the ability to get a 10-to-1 finished foam ratio. And what that is, again, is a heavier blanket. You're going to get pretty good reach for it, so that's going to be a tool that we have right on engine 66. Our frontline engines all have them. Now, we go to the hazmat part of it. We have a couple different versions here. I'm going to go this one first. This actually is going to hook to our deck gun. This will give you an excellent foam blanket out there with some good reach. But again, you better have some serious buckets of foam, because this thing will eat through foam so fast you guys won't even understand until you're out of it, and that'll be probably within a couple minutes if you don't have them. This other nozzle here, this is what we carry on Hazmat 66. This is a 50-to-1 medium expansion foam nozzle. This will give you the ability to put a big blanket out there. If we use it, you're going to have probably maybe about 20-some feet, if that, of reach. As soon as you open it up, it'll lob it out. And obviously we want to do our different techniques. You want to bank it, you want to push it, roll it, whatever it may be with your foam, you want to be able to get that whole area covered. This is something we have available. So if you guys need it, call Hazmat 66 and get, obviously you're going to have everybody with you anyway, but that's just something we have on our truck so you know. All right guys, we're going to show you again how this foam midget works and how it's assembled, okay, step by step. Make it a lot easier for everybody so you don't have to worry about thinking. This is going to give you a guide on how many gallons per minute you're flowing with your foam lines. What you want to do with that is figure out what percentage you're going to flow with the midget, 3 or 6%, and then you want to adjust, go ahead and show them that, adjust that accordingly. It's going to line up with however many gallons. For example, if you're flowing 500 gallons a minute out of your foam lines, you're going to find the 500 on there at 6%. If that's what you're using, it's going to give you the right proportion of the foam. Okay? All right, now we're going to assemble the foam midget. It's going to go into your intake of your 2.5 on the pump panel. The next step is the pickup tube. Andy just assembled it. Put that on first because it's pretty bulky. It's hard to move around. And the last step to it, Mike's going to assemble the 1.75 inch, which comes out of the discharge 1. Put your reducer on there. Set it up to where it comes into the midget. You're going to pump out of discharge 1 when you set up the system, and you're going to go right back into the intake, which goes into the midget. That's how you assemble it. We'll get to the next step here, guys. And also one more thing before we cut it off on this segment. Make sure all your caps are tight. So snug them down. Get on the other side. Make sure anything that's a discharge with a cap on it has been tightened. Just like you're doing with a drafting process. Okay, so now we have that first step done. We've got a fog going, 500 gallons a minute. Cool the tank. That's what your minimum is on that tank, 500 gallons a minute. All right, Andy, we need some foam. We've got a big tanker fire going on right now. We have a cooling line on it, but we need to get the foam lines out and get them deployed. Okay, the next step in the process is you need to be in RPM mode. As you can see, it is. That's the only way this thing will work. Okay, so now we charge the 1.75 inch coming out of discharge 1 into the midget. How many GPMs of foam are you going to be flowing, Andy?
Well, we're flowing the mercury monitor.
Okay, so what's that set at? 500 gallons a minute?
500 gallons.
Okay, so our monitor is 500. Yep. The foam midget is set to 500 on that. And how many percentages? What are we looking at? 3 or 6% of foam?
I said 3%.
Okay, so we're flowing 3% foam. And now you're going to put the pickup tube into your foam bucket. And like I said, this is a little small one. This would be totally empty within seconds. Now this is when it gets a little bit tricky. Explain this as you're going, Andy.
Basically, the thing is with the foam midget, to get it to work, you're pretty much going to cavitate your pump in order to get it to go. Basically, you're going to see this residual go to pretty much to 0. You're gonna hear it. So then you guys start playing the game of getting down your master intake. So we're gonna be flowing water. We have much water coming in.
Okay, so you're shutting down the intake almost to nothing, correct?
Almost to nothing.
All right. And you're increasing your RPMs as you do that.
Residual going down to 0.
Okay, so as you can see, the bucket's starting to go. Now generally what we're going to do is we're going to flow 6% out there. And as we can see, you can't really tell, we're using dishwashing detergent as training foam. You're not going to get the true foam concept out there on that. Okay, Andy, once you went down to 0, what are you doing with the intake pressure right now? Are you letting it get up a little higher?
I'm just going to open it now that we have suction. You can open your intake back up, fully open now.
Okay. Just remember, whatever we are flowing, guys, it's going to have to come through. The pump operator has to have, the nozzles have to be fully open at all times. You can't shut them down, and you need to allow him to adjust for it here at the panel. The biggest thing is get your foam buckets lined up. You need to have everything coordinated and set up. And if you find that some of your nozzles aren't giving you the foam that you really want, then push that nozzle where your direction is away from your foam blankets and don't break them down. Give yourselves a hand. Nice job.